I think survival horror movies are ones where you know you're being chased and hunted versus like
Mm.
slashers where like the kids, the teens don't know they're being picked off. Like in Friday the 13th, we the audience know that they're being picked off one by one, but they're kind of
Mm-hmm.
unaware of it until the very end.
Hello.
I was
Do you want to play a game?
What's your favorite scary movie?
Be afraid. Be very afraid.
You're gonna need a bigger boat.
Here's Johnny.
The power of Christ compels you! The power of Christ compels you!
Whatever you do, don't fall asleep.
Welcome to Talking Horror with Jamie and Nikisha.
Hi, I'm Jamie.
And I'm Nikisha, and this is Talking Horror with Jamie,
And Nikisha.
where we share our love for all things scary and talk horror through the lens of human behavior. Well, welcome, everyone.
Welcome, welcome. We got our lenses.
We're ready to go. Happy Black History Month. We're in it to win it. Black history is American history. Woo woo.
Mm-hmm. Woo woo.
Woo woo. And to celebrate it, we are talking about the 2019 survival horror film. That's what Wikipedia calls it. Sweetheart.
Brought you on this incredible trip. Everyone's having a great time, except you, right?
And the night you come up to tell me that you might not be happy, that you maybe don't want to be in this.
Storm clouds roll in. How perfect is that? No matter where you go, there's always a storm right behind you.
Lucas, you know I love you. But this is not the time to talk about this. Let me go.
Which then it had me thinking, what are other survival horror films? Because aren't they all kind of like we're trying to survive?
Yeah, I think that's a great question. So like I think that survival horror movie. So here's an interesting one.
Yes.
I think survival horror movies are ones where you know you're being chased and hunted versus like slashers where like the kids, the teens don't know they're being picked off. Like in Friday the 13th, we the audience know that they're being picked off one by one, but they're kind of unaware of it until the very end. I would say like a survival horror film is one where that kind of they know that they're being hunted and they have to escape it.
Like The Strangers. Maybe.
Yeah, usually survival horror film. Yeah, I mean that is one. Yeah, like a home invasion movie could be a survival horror film. I think survival horror film is like a bigger genre, subgenre of horror, and then you can have like smaller ones of that. I'm trying to think of like a survival horror movie.
I feel like it's less, I mean, I could be wrong, but it's less, I don't know. I guess when I think of survival horror, I think about not necessarily just one murderer. I think of like, I think of elements, I think of monsters, and not necessarily like a human monster, but like a monster, creature monster.
Yeah.
But stuff like that.
But
That's
I
not
think
to say that like, you know, like Texas Chainsaw, I think can kind of be both.
Yeah.
But I definitely think that like for me, the thing I mentioned earlier is I agree with Jamie. It could be it feels more like a group. It feels more. It could be animal or man, or sometimes man is the animal. But I think that you have to know that you're being hunted. Like I think The Mist is a survival horror film. I think that any zombie movie is a survival horror film if they know they're being hunted. I think that a lot of animal attack movies are survival horror movies, like Cujo, because they're in the car, they know, like that type of a thing. Ready or Not is probably a survival horror movie. Yeah, but I think the Quiet Place, The Ritual that we
Oh
watched.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that for me, survival means that you have to know you're being hunted.
Yeah, and I did like what Jamie said about the elements to being a thing
Yeah,
that
totally.
adds to the survival mode of it all, because you're not only fighting like a person
Yeah.
or a monster or whatever, like you're also fighting the elements.
Right. So
Yeah.
I think that like a disaster movie like 2012 or something like that can also be considered a survival horror movie, depending on what lens you're looking at it through.
Yeah. God, that movie messed me up when I saw it. I'm like, what the hell is happening?
I think we've talked about this. I love disaster movies with all of my heart and soul.
Really?
Oh my God, I love
disaster
movies.
movies. He loves animal attack movies. There's like
Right,
a
yeah.
Oh man,
yeah.
I love
Brian must love
disaster
the
movies.
survival horror.
Like I love it. I love survival horror, and I like recently, like the best survival horror movie I've seen in a while is Greenland, or that's more of a disaster movie, but Greenland was a great one with Gerard Butler. And then it's getting a sequel, and I'm very excited about that.
Ooh.
But yeah,
Where else
anyway,
can they take the story? Who knows?
I mean, I don't want to spoil anything.
Yeah, I want to watch it. I like
it's great. I think it's on. I think it's on Max. Anyway, that's my thoughts to answer your question.
Yeah, no, it's great. We're putting our thinking caps on right at the top. But this is considered a survival horror movie. When we talk about it, you'll see that the things that we have just discussed involve this movie. So this was directed by J.D. Dillard and written by Dillard, Alex Thurer, and Alex Heiner. And it stars Kiersey Clemens, Amori Cohen, which, by the way, I was like, how do I know his face? This is the boyfriend in it. And I had to look it up. He plays Deborah Messing's son in Smash. And I was like,
oh,
what?
shit.
Really?
Yes. That's
He's
the
also,
son.
So I just want to say one thing about it, and we'll get into this, but because we're talking about it now.
Yes.
Spoilers for this movie, obviously.
Obviously.
One of my gripes about this movie is how bad he is in this movie as an actor, not just the character. But then I went to look at his
IMDb.
And I'm like, he's good in a lot of these movies. Like, to me, that's a director directing them the wrong way than like him getting, like, what notes did he get? Because he's not a bad actor at all. And anyway, that's we'll get into that. I just need to say it now while we're talking about it.
Pretty bad in Smash. I just need to get on to
It is. And I wasn't, just because we're talking about it, I wasn't a fan of his acting in Smash, but he has the credits, man. He's fair. Making the money. But we'll get into it.
Yeah.
So not only those two, but also Hannah Mangan Lawrence and Andrew Crawford, who plays the monster in this. So again, heavy spoilers. If you have not watched this, it is streaming on Shudder. I always forget because I have Shudder through Amazon Prime.
Yeah.
So then that's how I watch it. But anyway, it's streaming on Shudder. So heavy spoilers, and Jamie, hit us with those trigger warnings, please.
Yes. If you don't like the idea of being trapped on a desert island, this is not for you. Also being stalked by a creature. Also just like creepy aquatic creatures in general.
Yes.
Big holes in the ocean that like activated something in me.
That was wild.
It was like the way that they like portrayed that was very disturbing to me. Like the ocean is already scary, to like visibly see just an empty hole leading to nothing, to like you can't see in the ocean. Like no, shut it down.
Yeah, not ideal.
No. And then some corpses, some skeletons, some dead bodies washing up on shore, some being impaled by coral. That was really sad and added a new fear that I didn't otherwise have previously. So yeah, so the black hole, like kind of references to maybe murdering your friend that are never confirmed. But yeah, seeing mutilated bodies, seeing mutilated fish, lots of fish guts. If you don't like harm coming to fish, there is a lot of that happens.
Jungle fires.
Yeah,
yeah,
jungle fires.
I know that's a big trigger warning for people. Jungle fires.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that's. I mean, a lot of like getting hit by the monster and then like going flying.
Yeah,
Flying.
totally.
Yeah. I'm excited to get into it and hear you guys' thoughts
Yeah.
on this for sure. But before we do that, producer Brian, can you give us some words, please?
Sure. Hi, everybody. Hi, YouTube. We are here and we are visual and you can see us. Thank you for joining us there. You can also find us wherever you get podcasts, but you know that because you're listening to us possibly. But follow us on all social media at Talk Horror Pod. There you can find us talking about other movies, about other horror stuff. We're doing all fun stuff there. So definitely check us out on Instagram and on TikTok and Blue Sky, but I haven't posted anything still.
I always love
yeah.
the disclaimer. It's like Blue Sky, but I haven't posted anything.
Yeah, I just want the people to know that we are staying the fuck away from X.
Oh, for sure.
But yeah, anyway, thanks for listening to us or watching.
Grand.
Thank you.
And for watching. I need to figure out though, because like hand motions can give all these little special effects.
Oh, I didn't know. I just was giving a heart, and I didn't know that was one of the reactions.
I didn't either, but I want to know, how do you light up the lasers? Like what hand motion? Like,
so it's not a hand motion. I'm like clicking into the camera at the top of the Mac, and then there's a reaction section, and I'm like manually clicking them.
The laser show is this though.
Yes.
Anyway,
I just wanted to
if
know.
you're listening to us, this is boring podcasting, but that's why you should find us on YouTube.
Find us on YouTube. Watch the chaos there. It's a fun time for sure.
It is a fun time.
Great. Have you guys watched anything this week?
We did.
Yeah.
That's right. Fasten your seatbelts because we finally watched Fast and Furious number 10.
Oh. I didn't know where that was going.
We watched Fast and Furious 10. Fast 10.
Fast 10.
Finally.
What is that?
The most recent. That's the most recent one.
Are they on the moon or something?
The last one.
No, that was 9.
They've already been to space.
They went to space in number 9.
Oh, okay.
And let's be very clear. They go to space in number 9, and somehow number 10 is the bad one.
That's really sad.
That is true.
It was not good. There was a lot that was not. Did I have fun watching it for 2 hours? Well, absolutely.
Okay.
For sure. But like, it's not good.
Right.
It's not.
Okay. In comparison, like, because Jason X, like, we love it because of how crazy it is. Is this the same, or is this a different kind of we liked it but it's bad?
Jason X is a good movie. I don't know what you're talking about,
you're
Nikisha.
kicked off the podcast.
Whoa.
No. I think it's in the same, to pun intended, it's in the same camp as Jason X. The thing is that this movie takes itself seriously, whereas Jason X does not. So it's a very different, like, it's a different vibe, but I think it's in a similar ballpark.
Gorgeous. Love it. I'll put it on the list. Is anybody, like, is Vin Diesel still?
Yeah,
the
they're
lead?
all still in it. They make too much money not to be in it.
Every single person that has ever touched this franchise, with the exception of The Rock, comes back for all of these movies.
Yeah,
But like John Cena's in them now.
Yeah, we stand John Cena in this house.
Helen Mirren. Helen Mirren's in this franchise.
Yeah, Helen Mirren, Jason Statham.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
but
it's great.
Ludacris, is he still in
Ludacris?
it or not?
He's still in it. Mm-hmm.
He's the best part of the movies. I love Ludacris.
Same.
Yeah. He's like half of the comic relief.
Yeah, it's him and Tyrese.
Oh yeah, him and that's
Tyrese is getting way more annoying though.
Oh yeah, no, Tyrese
He's
hasn't
like
been
not
funny
tolerable.
since. No,
he's
he's
number
not.
2 in my
Yeah.
opinion.
2, he's
that
great.
might be a hot take. 2 is great. He's great.
2 is great. Too Fast, Too Furious is great. There are great TikToks talking about how truly insane the naming pattern is for these movies. Because the first one's like The Fast and the Furious, and the second one is like Too Fast, Too Furious, and then the third one is like Tokyo Drift. Like, it just like doesn't. And
There's
then they're like, well,
no-
then why
yeah.
don't you call the fourth one like Fast and the Furious 4? And it's like, no, it's just
Like, don't
Fast
worry
and
about it.
Furious. And then I don't remember what it's really good. It's
Yeah.
anyway. We had a great time.
Great. I'll add it on the list of like if I just need something on, I'll throw it on for funs and giggles. Because I do love John Cena
Funsies.
too.
Yeah.
Gorgeous. All right.
Did you watch anything?
Did I watch anything? No. I don't think I did. I'm going through right now.
That was so sad.
I know. It was really sad. But it's because I'm going through Harley Quinn right now on Max.
The cartoon.
Yes.
It's
the
so
animated.
good, right?
I'm in the middle of season 2. And I just, for some reason, my brain was thinking about like the reboot of X-Men, 90, whatever.
97?
97, yeah. I'm thinking it's just going to be like lighthearted, superhero, animated, whatever. But it's on Max, so I don't even know why I thought that. And the first episode when they're like dropping the F-bomb and she's literally like slitting throats and stuff, I'm like, oh yeah, this is what I want.
Oh yeah, it's so good. I'm so happy
Yeah.
you're enjoying it.
Oh, it's hitting the spot in all of the best ways. I am obsessed with every character in the show. It's so good. And the voice acting is just fantastic.
It's like really good, right?
It's really, really, really good.
Yeah.
So it's fun. So that is all. But I do, because we were gonna watch Warm Bodies, I had started it and I do want to finish that because like I said before, that cast was stacked and I didn't even realize it. And I'm like, all these people are in this movie? And it was really cute, the parts that I saw.
Do it. We'll do that. We'll do that on here at some point for sure.
Fun times. All right, well, let's get into everything that is Sweetheart, including why is it called Sweetheart? But first, we need a 2-minute plot summary of this, and producer Brian is going to give that to us.
What's the plot?
Sure.
Yes.
Hi, everybody.
Producer Brian.
We're going to do a 2-minute plot summary of Sweetheart that will probably take 30 seconds, but knowing me, it won't.
Yeah, knowing you, it could also take 30 minutes.
Yeah, that's true.
All the details.
All right, producer Brian, are you ready to be the ultimate sweetheart?
Yes.
All right, ready, steady, go.
A woman washes up on shore of a deserted island. She washes up with one of her dead friends. She tries to bury the dead friend, and the dead friend a day later ends up going missing and like being pulled into the sea. What we find out is that she's stuck on this desert island, and at night this monster from the sea comes out and actually attacks her. So we have we're in trouble there. And then what happens is she tries to escape the monster. She can't. It's kind of crazy. And then what happens is some of her friends show up, and we find out that like she was dating one of them. He kind of pays for her life. This is very like we get bits and pieces of her backstory. Anyway, the long of it, short of it is, they do not believe her, and they pay the price for that. The woman, one of the friends is killed. And then the boyfriend is ended up being killed after he does believe her. And then she has to take things into her own hands. And she ends up luring the monster and then killing the monster. And she finally is free to shoot the flares in the air because planes are flying over the island. End of movie.
Great.
Nice job. You still have like 30 seconds left.
Oh, sure. The boyfriend calls her sweetheart in a very condescending way, multiple times in the movie. The movie is also trying to say something about believing women, but I also think it's trying to say something about race relations, especially because she is the black person in the white upper class friend group. It is alluded to that there was an accident on the yacht that they were on, like partying for the day, and that is why they all crashed and ended up at the island.
And that's the plot.
Good job. That was exactly 30 seconds.
Let's go!
Great job. All right, we need to hear everybody's thoughts on this. First segment, trick or a treat, where we tell you if this was a trick, we hated it, or we don't know how we feel about it, or treat, we loved it.
Trick. Treat.
Jamie, go first.
I think this is somewhere between or a treat for me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, okay. I'm like, elaborate. That's next.
Yeah, I was like,
well, okay. Producer Brian, how about you?
A treat. I really enjoyed this, despite its flaws. I really had a good time for 83 minutes, and I think it's doing something really interesting, if not something we've seen before. Still a lot of fun.
Yeah, I'm in the and I think I'm just stuck in there for this.
Yeah, I'll help you out.
Right. So now let's dive into all of the nasty little dirty details. I don't know why I said it that way. It just came out of my mouth.
the disgusting, putrid details.
In our next segment, likes and gripes.
And now our likes and gripes.
When my brain turns off, it turns off. So, producer Brian, how about you go first, since you said this was like a flat out treat for you?
Okay, yeah, I'm happy to.
Yeah.
I liked this movie because I think it's pithy, and I think that her performance is really good.
Mm-hmm.
I think that this movie cuts all of the fat off, and it just gets to what it's trying to do. Some things I like about this movie. I'm going to start with my gripes first.
Mm-hmm.
This is not a gripe, but you don't pull the coral out because you're gonna bleed out. Like you gotta do something different.
Yes,
anyway,
yes.
that's not her fault. That's not a fault of the movie. That's what she does. My biggest gripe about this movie is you cannot see in salt water. So that was my biggest gripe. Every time she opened her eyes and was looking around, I was like, no, yeah. And then I had some more questions in terms of like, why would this is not a gripe potentially, but why would the monster eat the friend on night 2 when he was out in the open night 1? Like, why did the monster wait to eat the friend at the beginning? That just seemed like weird.
Yeah,
that seemed like a plot thing. Like we had to wait for night 2. Why? Also, when the monster hits her and she lands in the water, why would he just let her go? That was weird to me.
Yeah.
That the monster just let her go on that night. I thought it was interesting. Why did the planes only fly over at night?
Yeah.
But that is not a gripe. That is just an interesting thing. And my biggest gripe probably is that that guy was off. There was a bad acting job. The boyfriend. I thought everyone else was great. All the other 3 of them were excellent, even in them. Okay.
The other woman was okay.
Sure.
But he was much worse.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. So these are my likes. This is why I liked the movie.
Mm-hmm.
We jump right in. She wakes up on the island, and we are just in it to win it. We understand, even if you never saw this, didn't know what this movie was about. You are familiar with that scenario in films, and you're just like, you got it. I understand what we were doing here. I also felt very safe as an audience member watching a smart person, a smart character take on all these challenges. Mm-hmm. Never once did I feel like she was making a dumb decision. And every time something bad happened, it didn't feel like she fucked it up. Aside from maybe the coral pulling out, but like that's fine. Like that didn't bother me per se. Mm-hmm. I also liked the kind of not subtext, the idea that not only did she have to kill the monster to survive, but she had to kill the monster to shoot the flares. You know what I mean? Like
to escape, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I think that the flare coming down and then backlighting the monster was
a good shot.
Truly incredible reveal. Not a full reveal, but like an introduction, whatever you want to call it. Just a gorgeous shot that got me like really amped to see what this movie was about. I liked the monster design. Some of the CGI didn't work for me. especially at
Same.
a night stuff when it's jumping in and out of the water. That felt
Mhm.
weird. But the practical effects when she's being dragged down and the boyfriend's being dragged down were excellent. So you get the best of the worst and best of both worlds. I just thought it was really snappy, fun, and I was actually disappointed when the friends showed up in the middle. I'm like, oh, we don't need. And then I thought it was an excellent addition to the movie. Like, I'm glad that's where they went, because one of my notes here is that Sweetheart is an incredible title
Mm.
because of how the boyfriend calling her sweetheart when we already know her name. It's Jen. She says her name is Jen. The boy at the beginning calls her Jen. This is not a scenario like she has an identity, but
Mhm.
her identity is being not co-opted, but seen through the lens of these white friends, this white boyfriend, and forget about race for just a second. This like this kind of gross boyfriend who clearly has money, who clearly has a lot of friends with money, who has a relationship with her, but she doesn't even know his friend's last name. Like there's a disconnect there. What I liked is that they call it Sweetheart because this movie is about believing people. So that condescending sweetheart is the one that's actually like doing the job of everything. And also it has a lot to do with kind of like feeling uncomfortable in a world that you want to exist in. The island, she's uncomfortable because of the monsters there. She's almost more uncomfortable when they don't believe her. She's probably uncomfortable in her real life. We're alluded to the fact that they mentioned like, oh, did you really get mugged before we left? Like like we're left thinking about like who is she before this? Who was she on the mainland, we'll say? Is she a liar? Is she a boy who cried wolf? Like, I don't know. All we know is that we start with her. What I like about this movie is we start with her, we form our own opinions about her, and then you bring in the other people who form the opinions, who make you think about what your opinion actually is of her. Is this the person that I've met for the past 40 minutes? Like,
Right.
I really dug that a lot in this movie. So I think the interesting allegory for like kind of like being an isolated person, a black person in this white person world where like all the friends were white. Her life is being paid for, so there's this weird like she feels like he makes her feel indebted to him, like that type of a thing. There was also and maybe I'm going too far into this. Maybe because we watched this for Black History Month and it's a black director and a black writer and a black actress. Maybe I'm reading too much into this because I'm mining for something. But I don't believe that it's just a coincidence that all these things were said and that the main actress is black and that everyone else is
And all of
cast
her
as
friends
a
are white. Yeah.
That's not an accident. That's not that is clearly on purpose because it was written by the director who is also, I believe, black. So like there's it means something. It has to mean something. Then why even make this movie?
Right.
Maybe I'm going too deep on that one, but it's definitely about believing women. Like 100%. And that's where the sweetheart comes from, in my opinion. That condescending, gross. So these are all reasons why I liked it from like a allegorical sense or whatever it is. But I also like how short and sweet it is. I think that some of the kills and the tension and the sequences are really good. Like I said earlier, I think the monster design overall is really good. And I think the movie leaving us with her on the beach having killed a monster with some flares left, I feel comfortable that she's going to be saved. You know what I mean? And I just really liked it for those reasons. There are flaws to this. Don't get me wrong. I don't think this is a perfect movie, but perfect movies aren't necessarily always fun. Like movies with flaws where the director's trying something, even if we've seen all this done better in different movies, like I would argue that Barbarian does female safety a little bit better allegorically. You know what I mean? Like there are other movies that do all this better. Being the one black friend in a group of white friends, like The Craft does that different, like better in some ways. But like I think that this movie does a good job of trying to do all of that in the way they're doing it, with feeding you bits and information and never really elaborating on it, because we're only seeing these 86 minutes of their lives in this scenario, and it felt almost like a little play in some way. So that I think that's why I liked it. I really dug this, and it's kind of a hidden gem, and I would definitely suggest it to people if they're like, what's a random hidden gem on Shudder? Like, I would say like Sweetheart, if you like this type of survival horror, as we talked about. So those are my likes and gripes for this. I really enjoyed it, and I enjoyed it more the more I think about it and talk it through with you all right now.
Yeah. I did also look up, well, it's on the Wikipedia, like where the title comes from, and also like the backstory stuff that you were talking about, Brian. Um, and so they said that the title came as they got into the script more, so I think that you're right, but I think that they kept that as the title to leave it ambiguous, because when it premiered at Sundance, like nobody had any clue that it was a creature movie. And so like kind of leaving expectations a little bit more open-ended, which I
Sure.
think was
That's great.
clever.
Yeah.
And then he does confirm like the story is a political allegory with a racial empowerment theme. Also, this I thought was really interesting and very timely. They were reacting to the 2016 election and the fear of this monster, aka Donald Trump, being in office. We wanted the film's creature to be this big white translucent figure, because normally scary things are dark, and we wanted the opposite of that. There's a lot of low-key political themes in it. The lead, oh no, oh yes, they were talking about how they wouldn't have made this film without a Black woman being in the lead role, playing into Black female hysteria and people not believing Black women or people of color when they say we're in danger or that something violent is happening.
So that's also fascinating, because what I thought was really cool about the movie is, and I should have mentioned this earlier, is I like that at first the monster is only at night, like kind of creeping up on you. And then finally, when like the tides turn, if you will, it's in broad daylight and doing all of its massacring with everybody watching. And I
And
think,
the opposite of what like she originally said or thought, because like when they're in the boat and it's daytime, like she said, like I've never seen it do this, and then it
yeah.
goes against expectations.
And that explanation of what Jamie just said is twofold. One, all art is political, even if you can't see it. Like, this is a political film that has tons of allegory to it. And B, genre filmmaking is the fucking best, because you can do all of this stuff with it being subtextual, and you can, even if you didn't read what Jamie just read like verbatim, you just get a feeling. It gives you a feeling that something else is happening beneath the surface, whether or not you can fully contextualize it or not. And like that's why I love horror, and I think that's also why I really enjoyed this movie.
Yeah, especially Brian, because you said they could have cast like anybody as the friends, but it's not a mistake that the lead person is a Black female and all of her friends are white. I also like what you mentioned about the us seeing the main character Jen's like point of view and us following her story and not knowing her backstory until later on. I didn't think about that, but I do really appreciate that, because we're forming, like you said, our own opinions about her. So then when like these douchebags come and are like gaslighting her, when you're like, what the fuck? Like, we've been rocking with this girl for like 45 minutes and you just show up for
yes,
like
our
the third
allegiance
act
is to her.
right, exactly.
To shut up.
And also like I really like that she never confronts them about the bloody knife, because we are just to assume that they did some heinous, nefarious shit on that raft, and they don't talk about it. Very similar to the way that like white people can get away with a lot of shit without like, and you know what I mean? Like, I just, that was just the way that our justice system works and the way that everything works. Like, it wasn't even getting into, and whether or not there could be a world where they tried to catch fish, or he cut himself. I don't know. I'm making those excuses or those ideas, because like, it doesn't matter. We already formed our opinion of her, and we are seeing this knife through her lens, but the movie never explicitly says anything about that bloody knife, but it just, again, it informs us in a way. This movie does a lot of showing and not telling, and I appreciate that.
Yeah. Also to that point too, when I was looking at that scene with the knife, my thought was that like she she thinks that something bad has happened, right? And so just to protect her own self, she's like, I'm not going to confront these people about it because they might do what
The
they
same
did
thing
totally.
to me.
It's
Yeah.
about her
So-
safety
yes, it's about her safety.
as a woman, as a black woman, as
Right.
the person they
Yes.
don't believe, as this who because
I mean,
once
they already meet her like her reactions with violence. Like she
Right.
tries to
True.
escape and leaves and was like, fine, if you guys want to stay, like fuck you, and tries to just leave on her own, and she gets fucking bashed in the head.
Which
Yeah,
and
with
tied
that
up,
paddle.
which that to me, in just speaking about it now, because I will just go ahead and say I was not looking at this movie through this lens. So now it's like opening up all things in my brain of like, oh, okay. But then that just reminds me of when people are like, go back to where you came from or your country, and like, but like if we tried to leave America, do you know how like expensive it is, and we still have to pay taxes, and there's so many things to like deny citizenship. So that just kind of reminds me of that too, of like her trying to get away, but then like America's like bringing her back, like, no, bitch, you actually can't leave. Wild. Any other thoughts, Brian?
No, those are my main thoughts. I just really had a fun time, both from if you take out all that allegory, I still think it's a lot of fun. If you include all that allegory, I think it's really interesting and a well-made movie. Again, I will like any movie that treats me like a smart moviegoer.
Yeah.
Does not treat me like a dum-dum. Like that, that allows me to figure it out for myself and have really fun, nice conversations with my friends, with my family, with you two, who are more than that. I don't know. I'm just being silly, but because I really did enjoy this movie a lot.
Yeah. Gorgeous. Jamie, would you like to go?
Yeah. I agree with like most, if not all, of Brian's points. I think that like just the flaws bothered me more than they did Brian.
Sure.
Yes.
So I don't really have that much kind of different stuff to share, but yeah, I agree that I thought the lead was really excellent. There were some points where I was like, she's really smart. Like she's clearly like just so fucking brilliant, because I wouldn't think of like half the things that she thought of.
Truly.
And there's a part of me of like, does that take me out of it, because like I would not be that good of a survivalist? I don't really know.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, I guess I would like explore my surroundings and things like that, but I don't know how much like shit I would be touching, or I don't know. But I've also never been in a situation where it's like me or death. What are we going to do here? So it's hard to like fully put yourself in that position of like, I've been in crisis situations and like have learned how to handle my shit in those situations. So maybe I would, suddenly become like a genius and be able to navigate this. But
like,
I
figure it out.
But I think that like I think that we are smart enough people that our street smarts would kind of kick in, or beach smarts, if you will, where like we would like try to look and see if we could find coconuts or what, or all that stuff, stay in the shade. Like we've watched enough Survivor and these movies.
I think so.
No,
like
but-
that's we need to go back and watch more Alone. I was thinking about
Yeah,
that
yeah.
recently. I don't know if watching this like sparked like, oh, I remember like binge watching Alone for a bit. Like, would I think to do any of these? Like, these people like live for that, and I'm like, because we don't get any context about her background, I'm like, man, she's just like doing it, and it's like very impressive, but also like, is that real? I don't really know. So that was all really fascinating.
Yeah.
Also, it's interesting because she jumps in, she's all gung ho, she's being a survivalist, all that stuff, and then we find out that like she's kind of just been like being funded essentially by her boyfriend. Like I think that's really, I don't know what that says or what that's trying to say in the moment, but like I think that's she's like a very smart, street smart person who was kind of like potentially in love with really actually in love with this person. And like I don't know, it was a very interesting
Right.
reveal, if you will, because of how smart she is.
Like she's very
Yeah.
capable. It's
Yeah.
it's yeah,
I
but
guess
maybe she just didn't have the funding. You know.
well, something else that it made me wonder because like it sounds like the conversation that predated the movie context was like they clearly were breaking up.
Mm-hmm.
And I there was something that read to me aside from the fact that he wasn't a great actor, but like there was something that gave me like abusive relationship vibes, and
Sure.
perhaps she and perhaps it's not just about like him providing her with like the finances to be able to do certain things, but maybe also on the flip side like controlling her via
Mm-hmm.
finances and like being free from his influence where money is not a factor.
Yeah.
Does she thrive and like, you know, not maybe thriving is a she survives certainly
Yeah. Yeah.
in this environment without his influence and without like the financial burden. So I don't know if that means anything, but just because like I didn't it definitely felt like there was this existing dynamic that like felt really icky between the two of them.
Yeah, especially when,
Absolutely.
because she was trying to break up with him on the boat and stuff like
Hmm.
that,
Mm-hmm.
and then yeah, and then like he feels super empowered when he thinks that like the monster's not going to hurt them. Once the monster starts coming for him, like then he starts to like freak out a little bit.
Yeah,
Like
Right.
and then he's like over then he's starting to depend on her
yeah,
way
Mm-hmm.
more, and like yeah, it's just him this yeah, just giving very
yeah, because
weird vibes.
when he's not, to go back to the allegory of the election and stuff like that, you know, when he's not being supported or held up or defended or protected by the
Mm-hmm.
system that gave him those privileges, then he
Hmm.
has to rely on the actual smart person who learned how
Hmm.
to like take care of themselves, and
Sure.
that like really works for me.
Yeah, I mean it's also like
Yeah.
putting the burden on like people of color to do the work.
Eek.
Uh-huh.
That
Yeah.
sorry, that was a great reaction.
That was a great sentence.
But like again, like another parallel for reality where, and it's
Mm-hmm.
always like the black women who are the most disenfranchised. So
Hmm.
like, you know,
Mm-hmm.
just art imitating life in
Mm-hmm.
a creature feature. But yeah, I feel
Yeah.
like his acting just really took a lot out for me that like
Yeah,
really it just it like kind of like blew the wind out of it for a bit, and I was like, oh, I really like I was like I wish this gentleman would just simply go away and
yeah,
we could just get back to like her and her facing off the monster, but obviously like that wasn't the point of the movie, so I feel like maybe if they had a better actor that would have been better. But yeah,
yeah.
there was like something else just about like the two I forget the other friend's name, but like the two of them and like their
Hmm.
dynamic together was like really weird.
Very.
And in
Because I was like,
another,
do they have some like kind of
Right.
secret
yeah, because
thing happening in the background? It
but
felt like that.
in another movie, a different movie, we would have cut to them hearing what they were whispering to each other. But the point is that this
Yeah.
whole movie was from her point of view, so I
Hmm.
appreciated that for sure. But
Yeah.
that vibe
They
was very
really
clear.
yeah, they were very consistent. Like I know that's a gripe that you've mentioned in the past, Brian, about different movies of like this is through her perspective. We even get it with like it kind of wrapping up with her journal entry of like trying to
Yeah,
demonstrate that like this really happened and like here's her documenting it. So we don't need to hear their conversation to get the vibes of like what she's feeling. Also, my biggest like for this movie, 80 whatever minutes. Oh my God. Like,
yeah, it was great.
love. I mean, everyone hopefully at this point knows how I feel about like all movies should be 90 minutes. But,
Agreed.
but yeah, man, they really do like get to the point. Also, one gripe that I had in the very beginning of the movie is she washed up with her face fully submerged in that water. And I was like, why isn't she dead?
Yeah,
That was my first
fair.
comment like when the movie just started. I was like, your whole face is face down in the water.
Yeah.
Like how
How?
like yes, I know you have a life jacket on, but like when
You're
what?
suffocating.
Yes, you have drowned. So that
That's
immediate moment,
hilarious.
I was like, oh no, is this gonna be bad? But then like the rest of the movie was fine. I just was like,
Yeah.
what the fuck?
Mhm.
Right.
Just have that quick moment. But yeah, no, I think it was a surprisingly like yeah, like a hidden gem, if you will, way better
Hmm.
than I thought it was going to be. Um, and would also definitely I wouldn't want to. I would kind of want to be very loosey goosey about what this movie is in recommending it because I like that we didn't really know about like the creature feature aspect.
Right.
So I'd
Uh-huh.
probably similarly be like, if you're looking for like a a short but sweet horror movie that
Hmm.
like packs an interesting allegorical punch, like definitely check
Hmm.
this out.
Yeah,
I agree with that.
I agree with that too.
Yeah. It was nice to just go in. I mean, it's always nice to kind of go in blind because then you
Yeah.
don't have any other opinions or expectations of what's going on. You can really just kind of like from an
Yeah.
objective point of
I
view
definitely
watch it.
had a neutral
Yeah.
expectation going in, which I think is why this absolutely enhanced it for me.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I will say, just to talk about the monster, I think that was one of the main things that took me out because the CGI was so bad
Okay.
that I was just like, oh, if this is what it's gonna, be about, I would rather it be one of those like we don't even see the monster ever. You know what I mean? We just see
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
destruction happening.
Yeah. I like
Um,
that they didn't show the whole thing too often though. Like it
yeah,
was
yeah,
like obscured by shadows and lights and things like that, that there's not really like a true reveal until the end. But I hear
Yeah.
what yours.
hmm
I agree with you.
Yeah. Agree. Totally
yeah.
agree.
Because I put like I like the concept of this whole movie, like the survival of it all, but it was just like the monster. And another thing with just gripes going on gripes, I wanted the boyfriend to have a more satisfying death.
Yeah, I wanted the both of
Yeah,
them
I
too.
think I agree with that too. Because when there was a moment where Jamie and I looked at each other, being like, I can't wait for them
Yeah,
to
For both
die.
of them to like, yeah, die
And
a horrible, gruesome death.
hers was
horrible.
satisfying. Being pulled into the water like that was definitely
Hmm.
satisfying. I
Hmm.
agree. I needed something more from the boy one.
Yeah, like I needed
Well,
him to be
also
like
like,
ripped up.
why didn't the monster just like keep taking her? Like he was just like, oh, you stabbed me. I guess I'll go get that guy.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah,
I don't know. Yeah, he. I don't know what it is. He just seemed like.
He had like weird motives. Like there was no consistency with like what he was going after,
Yeah,
when, why.
why?
Like it
Yeah,
was like you'd think that like a creature that just had like a thirst for, I don't know, flesh or blood or whatever would just like go after whatever is most accessible. But
yeah.
like sometimes he was smart, like when he went for her when she made the hammock.
yeah.
But other times I was
That was
like,
great. I
what
liked
are
that.
you like? What are you doing?
Right.
There was no rhyme or reason to the creature's behavior.
No.
No, none of it. Because
So
then it was like, are you just getting one person at a time a day? Is that all you need to eat in a day? It's like, because she
Right.
puts up,
just
one
one
person,
fish,
just one,
one
whatever,
shark
just one.
today.
No, yeah. But I thought, like you guys said, she made such smart decisions. What was funny in Jamie, you talking about like, how would I be in this mode? Because of course that's like where my brain is going. It's like, okay, she washed up, it's during the daytime and the sun seems like it's still out. So like, how long does she have until it's nighttime? And you got to find some
Hmm.
place, to survive
Yeah, I was like, why aren't
at
you like?
night.
Yes, I was like, find shelter, like
Yes.
first. Like, what are we doing? Like,
Mm-hmm.
if like stay warm.
Mm-hmm.
How are you going to eat to get water? Like, these are the priorities. But like, I was like, number one, shelter, and she was just wandering.
And she
And I
was
was
just
like,
wandering
ma'am,
around. I'm
ma'am,
like,
what are you
like she
doing?
eventually got there, but at the first time I was
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
girl, what are you doing? But what was
Hmm.
funny, I related to was her trying to clean that fish for the first time because that absolutely would have been me. Because I'm like,
Uh,
what's
that
going
was
on?
great. Like
Yeah.
I just appreciated that like she wasn't good at everything. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Like
Yes.
Yes.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yes.
Oh wait, here's
Yeah.
a question for the group. Do you think that you can actually spear a fish?
That's a great
No.
question. That's
I
such a
think
great
it's
question.
you have to figure it take a while because you need to because like the light reflecting the fish is not what you think it is. The fish is a little bit different because of the light reflecting. Like think of like when you're like looking
Like
something in
depth
the water and
perception
you
is like
Yeah.
off.
depth
It's different.
perception and like the water is magnifying or what like so like you won't stick it right down. You're gonna be off by a little bit. It takes a lot.
It definitely takes a lot, but I'm like, good for you, girl, for even trying, because I wouldn't even know how to make a spear in the first place.
Yeah, I have to rethink my whole strategy of,
The whole
we gotta
plan.
make spears.
Right. I'm screaming. But yeah, I really enjoyed I think, Brian, you were just talking about when the friends enter. I put in my notes that I enjoyed the time that we had with just her, and I think that the friends came at just the right time to give you something different in the
Mm-hmm.
movie, even though like they sucked, but like as far as characters and like their whatever, but it was nice to just have that little bit of difference
Yeah, sure.
with it, because it's like, okay, night one monster, night two
Yeah, no,
whatever, night three whatever.
yeah.
So just to add some variety to it, I think that like got me, like right when I was like, okay, is this going to be the whole thing, then something new happened. I was like, okay, I'm back in it. But I think everything that y'all said I agree with. I again just wasn't looking at it through the lens, and this is on me, because I wasn't thinking like, oh, this is a Black director and a Black writer, and like, what is all this representing? But it definitely all makes sense, and it all adds up, like all the points that you guys are making about like why they cast the way that they did, and how things can relate to certain aspects of being a Black woman in America, which was
Mm-hmm.
great. And I really enjoyed the Lee's performance. Like, she was
She was
incredible.
great. Like really
Um,
good.
yeah, it
Mm-hmm.
was really
Like
good.
she's the
And
reason this movie works.
yes, I
Yes,
agree.
100%.
I
Mm-hmm.
agree. But I also like the concept of just like being like, Brian, you mentioned like we're right in it. Like, I never once thought I want to know how they got here. It never was a
Right.
question of
It
like,
didn't matter.
I
I
want to
was
know
like,
the
who cares?
backstory.
Yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't. Who cares?
But the
Mm-hmm.
pieces that they threw in was enough for me because they were
Yeah.
serving both my curiosity, but also serving as a backstory, like plot pieces, emotional beats, things like that. And I appreciate it.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, it's because a lot of times we're like, why is this happening? What's going on? But in this instance, it
Mm-hmm.
was like, no, I don't need it at all. It's just, we're
Yeah.
here. The action is starting. Like, I think it's great. So yeah, I think maybe I'm leaning more on a treat, just this
Ooh,
conversation.
we've influenced you.
Ooh. But yeah, I did. All in all, even before we talked about this, like, I really did enjoy this concept of the movie, of just like in a shipwreck, like survival mode. What are we doing? How do we survive? But yeah, that monster, man, it just was like for me. But other than that, everything else is good. Any other thoughts before we move on?
No,
I don't think so.
No, I think we covered it.
Yeah, I think we did cover.
You're all my sweetheart.
Oh, happy Valentine's Day. Belated Valentine's Day.
Yeah.
Yay. Love it. Gorgeous. Let's move on to brains.
Tasty, tasty.
Tasty. Okay, we've already mentioned this phrase a lot, survival mode. So I wanted to ask you, Jamie, is that even an official term that's used in the psychology, mental health world, or is it just something that we say, and what we're really talking about is fight or flight responses? And if survival mode is a thing, like, what exactly is it, and how does it differ from like fight, flight, freeze, or fawn, which we always talk about on this podcast?
Yeah. I mean, I think it's like an overlap for a very similar thing, in terms of like there are certain events that might set us into this mode of like needing to uh like respond and prioritize just like being safe, and like, addressing our like most basic needs. So the things I was saying of like shelter, food, water, whatever you need to do to like literally stay safe and survive a situation,
Yeah.
essential functioning. And that is kind of essentially what like fight, flight, freeze, and fawn are doing for our bodies, is like it's kind of turning off all of the noise and just focusing on like, how do I stay safe in this situation? So I think like for a more long term prolonged experience. Like you're not like stuck in like fight for an extended period of time. That's like
Right.
something that is happening in the immediate crisis. And so like her kind of arriving and then like kind of figuring things out, like that might have been the initial kind of response. And then her, like, the longer she was on the island, like doing what she needed to do, but like kind of coming in and out of it. Because every time the monster would like, you know, come and be all up in her space, she would respond in different ways. Like there were several times where she was hiding. There were some times where she did have to run. There were some times where she tried to fight. So like we kind of saw, you know, a full display of like those responses. But then I think also like kind of pulling back, like she's still in a situation where she has to like protect herself, even if the monster is not like causing immediate danger. So I think it's like immediate danger, but then also like this secondary of like, I need to stay alive enough to like, you know, keep going when the immediate danger comes back until I can like fully escape from this situation I'm in.
Yeah. Love that. And that makes sense too, because it's like the survival mode is kind of all encompassing those different responses, which I didn't even think about, the fact that she kind of does all of them.
Yeah,
in this
she
moment,
like hides in the tree trunk. She runs like several times away from the monster. And then like at the end she fights back with the bone knives.
Man, so many. And then like
So many
such
bone knives.
genius to like have
put them everywhere.
Put them everywhere,
That
but
was
also
awesome.
the fire. Like the minute one of the smart
Watching her
decisions
like mega
think,
I just punched myself in the face, but watching her like mega step. Clearly I have to work on my strategy to not.
Jamie, are you okay?
Yeah, I just hit myself in the glasses, so the glasses protected the blow.
Oh, there you go. That's why we need the
but clearly I
lenses.
am very powerful.
Well, I believe you're powerful. I'll say that.
Thank you.
But her putting the fire around, but the smartest decision that I would have not even thought of is when they get attacked in the raft and she washes back up on shore and runs to make sure that fire is still going because she doesn't have any more matches left over.
Yeah.
And then that is, she uses that to like then have like the forest fire, which also can be a signal for the planes
for help.
You know, going through.
Oh,
like, oh my God,
that's true.
So
yeah, I thought of that too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But anyway, great. So second question is it possible to prepare or practice our minds to better be able to problem solve when we find ourselves in chaos or in crisis? / are there ways that we can practice like calming our nervous system in those moments as well when we're experiencing maybe some chaos?
Yeah, good question. Good question.
Good question.
I think that, so a couple things. For one, I think like it is hard to control the like fight, flight, freeze response because like that is it's not like our cognitive thinking brain saying like, okay, time to like do all these things. Like it is this automatic response that our body has kind of like taken over our brain in however it thinks that we are going to survive that particular situation. That being said, I think that there are things that we can do to, you know, practice slowing down in stressful moments. I think that as an anxious person, I err on the side of like, you know, how helpful is it to hypothesize stressful situations all the time to like try to better anticipate them. And I think that serves as like a double-edged sword because like on one hand perhaps you're like, what if this happened, good thing I'm thinking about it so that like I won't be caught off guard. But again, the reality is like it's probably stressing you out while you're thinking about it because you're intentionally thinking of a stressful situation. And B, you still, if it's going to be stressful, you will still be stressed when it happens. It might not be like as scary, stressful, but you can't really stop a reaction from happening because you're human and that is normal. So I kind of say all of that to say like there will likely still be unexpected things that happen that we're not always anticipating. But I think if we are regularly practicing coping skills, then we will be better equipped to handle the things that are thrown at us. Again, even if we don't necessarily know what they all are or when they might happen. I think also like we do know ourselves well enough to be able to probably identify like common triggers that set us off regularly. So it's like, you know, if this thing were to happen, that would probably be really upsetting to me. And like, I know that. So at least I know that. And that's not surprising. Like we can take stock in things like that. But I do think in general, like just regularly taking care of ourselves and like, you know, using our coping skills, especially when we're not really stressed out, that is what really strengthens them. When we're like not practicing them and then the stressful thing happens and then we're like, let me try to do this thing. Why the fuck isn't it working? Like it's probably because we're not really like using that skill ever and then like putting way too much pressure on it to work in that moment. If we even remember to like do it in that moment.
Can I have an example of a coping skill, please?
Oh yeah. I would say like
Whoa.
like
Don't give away these ideas for free.
this each word is 30 cents a word. It's I would say like you know, breathing exercise is like a good grounding exercise where you know, focusing on your breath. Always recommending folks to focus on inflating their stomach, not their chest. Because that way, that's how you know that you're getting like a full deep breath. I think a lot of times when we're feeling anxious, we're taking shorter breaths. And that sometimes might, like, if we're trying to take a deep breath up here with our chest, we might feel more anxious. So you're like looking at your stomach like it's inflating like a balloon. And sometimes it's helpful to like, you know, do even counts of like breathing in, holding the breath, and breathing out. Sometimes people do counts of like 6 or 8. Sometimes people do 6, 7, 8. Like there's like so many different like number combinations that you can do. If you're curious, you can look online. But deep breathing is a good one. I really like 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 is a good anxiety grounding skill. So that's like whether 5 things that I can see, whether 4 things that I can hear, whether 3 things that I can feel, 2 things I can smell, 1 thing I can touch. I might have gotten some of those in the wrong order, but yeah, using your senses to like bring you back to the present moment. If you find that your like mind is kind of taking you elsewhere, or like if you're feeling really discombobulated, just like kind of bring yourself back to center.
Yeah, that one is literally something that directly came out of my therapist's mouth of the 5 countdown. And also the breathing thing is what I do in voice lessons all the time.
Yeah, for sure. And breathing from your diaphragm and your stomach as opposed to like high up in your chest, for sure.
Clavicular breathing. We don't want none of that stuff.
Oh,
so, what a fancy name! Oh my god, can I take? I mean, I don't need any more fancy big words. I'm trying to figure out how to like better explain things that like don't sound really complicated.
No, you're great.
Say that and someone be like, what did you just say?
Everything you explained here is definitely like layman's terms, like very understandable.
Wait, can you say it to me again? It sounded really fancy and sexy.
Don't make me blush, Jamie. Clavicular breathing.
Oh my.
Clavicular.
Yeah. But the numbers thing, and even my acting coaches will talk to me about that, as far as like a sense of calming your nervous system before auditions and things, and just to center yourself and ground yourself before like walking into an in-person audition or whatever.
Sure.
So yeah, fantastic, great answer. We love to hear it. You can pay Jamie Venmo. Her Venmo is for this free therapy session. Great. Should we Rotten Tomatin this?
Let's do it.
Rotten Tomatin.
Woo.
It's the Rotten Tomatoes game.
Rotten Tomatin.
Okay.
How many clavicular breathings does this have on Rotten Tomatin?
Yeah. What do you think the percent on Rotten Tomatoes is? Nikisha, you go first.
I don't know. I feel like it's not going to be high. I'm going to say 68.
Jamie?
I'm going to say 65.
This has a 95% on Rotten Tomatoes.
Oh my god!
Wow. Great.
That's awesome.
That's one of the
You'd
reasons
be
why I
so
chose
wrong.
it, honestly, because I was like, "Oh, that's crazy. That's a crazy number."
Right.
Um,
Oh, that's so great.
it, however, has a 51% audience score.
That tracks.
Yeah, which makes a little bit more sense.
Yeah.
Carried by Kiersey Clemens' performance, Sweetheart balances smart subtext and social commentary against effective genre thrills.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'd agree with that.
Yeah, that totally works. Cool. All right. Now, what do you think this has on Letterboxd? Jamie, you start. Again, these are decimal points up to 5.
A 3.2.
Nikisha?
I'm gonna say 2.9.
It's 2.9.
Happy Black History Month.
Spot on. Good job.
Woo! Oh wow. What are the comments?
These popular reviews are just long and like actually reviewing the movie. There's nothing like funny there.
Okay.
So I'm gonna skip them. However,
Boring.
The second best one says, side note, Fiji is so beautiful and I want to go.
I mean, that
It was
nice.
really beautiful.
It also just makes me scared because I still don't know how to swim. So in those instances where I just saw her, which also breaking stereotypes because she was swimming for her actual life. I was like, oh man, I need to learn how to swim if I
She was swimming far. Like every
like really
random things
far.
she would see, and I was like, "Are you gonna be okay coming back?" Like, I'm worried.
I'm worried about you, but you seem to have got it, girl. So good for you. Grand.
Yeah. Should we do the 4 S's?
Yes.
Skull, scare, shakes, and suggestions. The Talking Horrors 4 S's.
All right, Jamie, why don't you start us off with skulls, scares, shakes, and suggestions. Skulls is how well this does human health and mental behavior.
Nope.
Mental health and human behavior. 0 through 10. Scares is how scary was it. Shakes is you're gonna shake it off, and then suggestions are other movies. So Jamie, let's start with you.
Yeah, for Skulls, I gave this a 6. Because I think again, like sometimes there were some mostly realistic responses to the things that were happening, but again, I'm like, could I realistically do some of these things? And then also like the boyfriend really took me out.
Oh.
Yeah. Scares, I gave it a 2. Because I genuinely didn't know what was going to happen next. And I think that like kind of definitely I was putting more stress and anxiety on the movie. And for Shakes, I gave it a 3. I'm still thinking about it, but like, I don't know, its impact is kind of wavering on me. So it kind of landed a little bit low.
Sure. Nikisha?
Yeah, I'm gonna give it a 7 for Skulls, just because I just thought that she was making some really awesome decisions. I had scares at 1, but I upped it as a 2 because just being in that situation is scary. So even if I didn't get jump scared,
that's fair.
And I'll put this as a flat 5. But that is definitely coming up from the conversation that we had about this.
Yeah, sure. I give it a 6 for scares. I give it a 6 for skulls, a 2 for scares, and I give it a 6.5 for shakes. That might come down as time goes on, but I thought that was I enjoyed this quite a lot.
It's a nice surprise. Yeah.
Yeah. And if you want to watch it's not a horror movie, it's not, but just like the two, okay. Horror movie, watch The Shallows. With Blake Lively. For non-horror movie, just watch Castaway.
Oh,
Castaways. We are castaways.
Yeah,
that's what you're talking about, right?
Yeah, the Barkyardigans. No, with Thomas Hanks and starring Wilson. It's Wilson the volleyball.
With Thomas.
I haven't seen that because I haven't seen any Thomas Hanks movies.
Wait, what?
This is like an ongoing conversation that Brian and I have had where I've only seen like 2 or 3 of like all of Tom Hanks's filmography.
It's crazy.
Which ones have you seen? I'm curious now.
I've seen Forrest Gump like 1,000
Great.
times.
Okay. That's important.
You've seen Big without the sound at a bar.
I love Big.
Big's
Oh,
weird.
it's gross.
It's very gross, but it's
gross.
nostalgia.
Yeah,
me.
without
Yeah,
the nostalgia,
sure.
it's disgusting.
I agree with
For
you,
sure, for
Nikisha,
sure.
but it's very uncomfortable watching it now.
Yeah,
And I haven't watched it in the last like 10 years.
I can tell you it doesn't hold.
Yikes.
And then you've seen all the Toy Story movies.
Yeah, but that doesn't count.
Sure.
And Catch Me If You Can, he's in that, right?
Oh, yeah.
He's doing the catching.
He's doing the
Yeah,
catching.
that's
Okay.
exactly right.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's a great movie too. Okay.
Yeah.
I think it's like his big stuff.
Yeah, I mean, we
Isn't
gotta
he in, like Saving Private Ryan? I haven't seen that.
Saving Private
And
Ryan.
you're like, that's his big stuff. I'm like, here's like the biggest movie he's ever made.
Philadelphia.
Green Mile. I've never seen Polar Express, which I'm.
Well, no, we're never
good.
watching that. That's that. People who I don't want to get into Polar Express right now. That makes me so upset.
That's another
No,
parlor
do it.
talk for
Get
another
into
day.
it. No, just kidding. Don't do it.
No.
I've seen A League of Their Own. That was a recent watch.
Oh yeah, but we watched that recently. I was like, oh, you gotta
Yes.
watch this, and I bought it
Yes.
just so we can have it.
I love that. Now you got to watch the series, the Amazon series.
I think I did.
Oh, work.
I did before it got canceled, but he wasn't in it.
No, but it's just a really good series. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Thomas Hanks.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think those were the only things.
No, we watched.
I've seen the Da Vinci Code and the Angels and Demons.
We also watched
Great
You've Got
films.
Mail when Spencer and JS came over.
Oh yeah, because I'd never seen it, and it
Yes.
also isn't great.
Yeah.
All these movies that I'm sure everyone has like so much nostalgia for, I'm like, I don't think this is good. He stinks.
You've Got Mail is great. However, it does come off as like he has all of the power in that relationship.
Yeah, it's
Yes.
weird.
In that like
We still
secret
have to watch.
relationship.
We have to watch That Thing You Do. We've talked about that all the time.
Love that movie. That's a great film.
I have only seen because what
I
used to
Quit.
go on VHS or
I Quit.
VH1. Yeah.
Oh yeah, VH1 like behind. Yeah, totally. It was on. Yeah. Oh
I
man,
haven't seen Apollo 13.
great movie.
Road to Perdition.
Great
He's been in
movie.
so much.
Lady Killers. The Terminal.
Yeah.
Charlie Wilson's War.
Terminal, not great. Charlie Wilson's
Really,
War is
a
fine.
lot of movies. Sully. I've never seen.
Sully.
Oh, we saw Elvis.
Oh, we saw Elvis on a plane. Yeah,
What year was that?
like 2 years ago
Okay.
It came out in 2022.
with Austin Butler.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, where he couldn't.
Ba-
he
the
like
Baz
couldn't
Luhrmann one.
lose. He couldn't lose his accent.
Yeah.
Yes, for the press tours.
Yeah.
Wild and Crazy Kids.
I kind of enjoyed that movie.
It
for
was
what
a spectacle.
Yeah. On a little tiny plain screen.
What better place to watch a film like that? We saw Asteroid City. I forgot he's in that.
Oh yeah.
Anyway,
You've seen a lot.
This isn't our Tom Hanks podcast that
No.
I've pitched several times.
Yeah, we call it like T Hanks for coming, like thanks for coming.
Exactly.
Or something like that.
Exactly.
But we've seen a lot, but let's be very clear. Until we've talked about this and like actively made choices to watch a lot of these movies, she had not.
Got it. Okay. So this is in the span of y'all's like relationship that you're like watching.
Yeah.
Starting to watch some of them.
Yeah,
But it's
but
mostly like the serious, intense movies that I'm like, the world is what it is. I don't need that
I'm
in
the
my
captain
life.
now.
Like you don't
Yeah.
even see Green Mile right now.
Right. Like I'm just like, I don't think I have the like emotional
Yeah.
capacity to
But that-
take that.
Next on our list for sure. Next time we're like, we should watch a Tom Hanks movie. That Thing You Do, 100%.
Work. That is funny. This has been T. Hanks Parlor Talk.
Yes.
T. Hanks for coming, Parlor Talk.
Parlor Talk. Love it.
Come, sit, have a drink. It's parlor talk.
Great. Oh, anybody have suggestions? I didn't have a suggestion. Sorry.
Oh, yes. but mine is very specific. I was just thinking of like, who's another shitty boyfriend that you can't help but bring up again? If you want another shitty boyfriend movie, watch Paranormal Activity.
Yeah.
Fucking Micah. So shitty. And what was yours, Brian? You had
Castaway.
Oh, Castaway, duh.
Castaways.
That's what got us on this whole conversation.
Yeah, and The
Castaways.
Shallows.
Oh, gorgeous. That's it. That's what we'll play as we exit.
No,
Brian's
it
gonna
won't.
be like,
I'm
"No,
not doing the
I'm
extra
not
work.
searching
This is a quick
backyard
turnaround. You're
again."
not getting it. Sorry, everyone.
Obsessed.
Sing it, Nikisha.
You got it. I'm gonna hand it to you. We got it in the episode though.
I already did it.
Woo!
Castaway.
Jamie's
We
like, I'm
are
not doing it again.
castaways.
This wraps our chaotic ending episode of God. What was we? Oh, Sweetheart.
Yeah, maybe.
Of Sweetheart. You can find us on all of not all of, some of the socials, Instagram, TikTok, and the good old
Blue Sky.
And producer Brian, where can they listen to us?
You can listen to us wherever you get podcasts. So things like YouTube. Hi, YouTube. Also, Spotify and Apple Podcasts. Rate and review us there. 5 stars, please.
And thank you. Castaway. We are castaways.
Castaways.
I don't know the rest of the words.
We are castaways. I don't remember beyond that.
Yeah, same. Gorgeous. Thanks for listening, guys.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.